How's it going, everybody? This is Jay Nanda of Alamo True Metal here at Fitzgerald's Bar, San Antonio, Texas, where we have a wonderful night of rock and jazz planned with none other than the Alex Skolnick Trio. Of course, Alex Skolnick, lead guitarist of thrash band Testament, thrash pioneers Testament, here in town with his jazz ensemble. And of course, we have his drummer Matt Zabrowski, bassist Nathan Peck, and of course Alex himself here in San Antonio. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be back? It's great to have you.
It's been too long. We're doing a 5-show run in Texas.
Yes, you're doing your Texas run.
Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, tonight's night 2. We did Houston last night at a place called the Do-Si-Do.
Yeah.
Great venue. And here we are. It's going to be a good night. Hearing from a lot of people online that are going to show up.
Outstanding. Well, of course, Alex, we saw you 2 months ago. The Testament was part of the Slayer tour. You guys were here at Freeman Coliseum on August 15th. Now you're in jazz mode. And I was about to ask, how does it feel to be back in Texas, but
it's
with a totally
really
different vibe?
Cool, because it hasn't been that long. And my warm-ups on that tour were often this music, because I knew I'd be jumping right into this. And it's fun. We were seeing T-shirts from that tour. I think we're getting a lot more of that crowd that hasn't seen us on these shows. Because I think those Slayer shows really raised awareness of us and what we're doing. A lot of people have gone on
trio awareness.
Yeah, they started following me because of that show, but then they say, "Oh, what's this trio thing?" And then a lot of them show up, and they might not normally come to a show like this, where you sit, you listen, there's no mosh pit.
Yeah.
You have a beverage. You can bring a date. You can bring, and also we get to say hello to everybody.
Right.
A show like Freeman Coliseum or Sugarland, which is the arena we played over the summer in Houston, I couldn't say hi to anybody. It's a mob scene, I could say hi to 1 or 2 people, and then people, the crowd starts running over, and there's thousands of people. Here, nobody that wants to say hello gets turned down. Everybody gets a handshake, a photo, and sign CDs and records.
As long as you buy a record.
Well, tell the people out there that strictly know you from Testament. Obviously, you guys released a jazz album last month called Conundrum. Terrific original songs. I believe it's your first AST album in 7 years, since 2011.
It's hard to believe.
Oh, because we did the live one. Right.
Of all original material. Studio albums.
For studio. Right?
So what was your approach going to this album as far as what you wanted to bring, and of course, probably knowing going in that you were going to encounter new fans all over the country or world?
Well, I think doing rock tunes was a great way to start out, and it really kind of helped give us an identity. But we've done that for so long. We still do some of them live, but I think we knew we wanted to do an album without rock. It's all originals, and one tune that's the one that's not an original is over 100 years old. And so we wanted to make it original, and each of these guys brought in a tune as well. We're just why don't you guys talk about?
We're writing stuff that we like to play, like all different types of styles that we like to play that we can incorporate and make it fun for us to perform live and kind of showcase what we do as a trio. We've been together for so long. I mean, it has maybe 20 years we've been a band, I think. I don't know. We should probably figure out when the actual anniversary would be.
Yeah, it's coming up.
But
the first record came out in 2002, I think. Yeah. So we have a few years. It's not a 20-year-old band. But we've developed a great repertoire of originals. And people dig the originals as much as the covers. It used to be they liked recognizing the songs. But now the originals seem to have so much personality.
Try to write catchy melodies and try to use them as a vessel to improvise over that's fun to listen to and fun to play. I think it comes across that we really have fun playing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of energy,
And it's a different show every night. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know if any of us is going to play.
Yeah, it's true.
How did you
know?
Yeah, how did you guys? Obviously, Nate, you just mentioned that you've been in the band 4 years. I know, Matt, you've been in here for quite a while.
No longer. He's been around.
2002.
2002. Okay,
I think I joined the band a year.
So how did you guys hook up?
Yeah.
Alex, did you find them? Did you discover them, or how did you guys hook up?
Well, I went through. I took a few years off from touring and didn't do any rock. I just needed to sort of get my playing together outside of rock. And, I sort of envisioned what we're doing now, but I didn't know how to go about it.
Sure.
So I just kept a low profile for a couple years, moved to New York, went to university. The university I went to is called the New School, and they have a great jazz program. I met Matt at the jazz program. We originally had a bass player who was part of that jazz program. We actually had two. The guy who ended up on the record, he ended up leaving to play music that was more like electronica. He's younger, good musician, but we needed somebody on the fly.
Yeah.
And but that's when we had tours, and we knew we were going to do another record. And Matt recommended Nate, who, you can tell the story, because you guys grew up together.
Sort of
From
grew
the
up
same
together.
town.
He's a little older than I am, and was working bass player in Pittsburgh since he was like a little kid. A musical family and everything. And I moved to New York when I was 18, and he was talking about threatening to move to the city, and I tried to convince him to come, and he came and sat in with us at the knitting factory.
I've known this kid since he was like 16.
Yeah, when I was terrible.
Yeah, so they have all this history
Right.
back in the Pittsburgh.
I was
music.
basically new in New York, and you guys needed a bass player. It
Yeah.
worked out perfectly.
We had a regular gig, he came and sat in, and then we already had a tour, booked on the West Coast.
with Marty Friedman.
Yes, nice.
Chris Thomas.
Yeah, it was, and that was when I started sort of reconnecting with the whole rock world, and
We need a bass player.
we needed somebody quick, and
I'm very quick.
and the whole dynamic was like, because I think if I got it right, I think like Matt was like the kid in the Pittsburgh scene, but then Matt moved to New York first. So then Nate comes to New York, and then Nate.
Of that scene that we were in Pittsburgh, him and I are the only, like, it's like me, you, and one other guy, maybe two other guys moved to New York.
And stayed.
All the other people we knew in Pittsburgh stayed.
Yeah, and stayed in New York, so they came for a minute.
Yeah, so we sort of found ourselves in New York, all coming from, these other places. But New York is like that. You just get people
all
from
roads lead to Rome.
who knows where.
I've read in the press releases for the new album Conundrum that you were basically describing the title as a reflection of the strife in the world today. And that's usually the type of theme we hear from political metal bands or even thrash bands that aren't political bands. Why does and you talk about the angst needing to be released from that, right? Why does that theme work with jazz and the trio?
Good question.
That's a really good question. I don't know. I guess it's hard to not be honest musically. That's one of the things I love about doing this band and the styles that we do. It's honest. We're not trying to do hits. We're certainly not playing for other musicians. My problem with some instrumental music, I'm not going to name names, it sounds so obvious that they're like playing or even pandering to other instrumentalists. And we don't do that. We may have moments where, oh wow, what a great drum part, but it's not. It happens naturally.
It's a musical reason for everything, and
This band goes against the grain, jazz-wise,
Stuff that's happening in the world, it affects you emotionally because you have feeling because of things that are happening. So you write music that reflects that just because you're going through it at the time.
It's an elephant in the room. If we aren't, acknowledge it somehow. And I think that title, and I think that particular moment on the record certainly is a reflection of it. And it's not making a specific political statement. It's really just about things have changed so much that it's just hard. It's hard to communicate these days. It's hard to communicate with people, and just all types of people. But, a lot of people just seem to only want if they don't like what they're hearing, even if it's very fact-based, it's fake. It's not real. You know what I mean? You see that on the left. I think you see it a little more on the right, but maybe that's just my opinion. Yeah. But it's really that there's been this breakdown in communication, and I don't remember it ever being like that. Yeah. A lot more people were apolitical. Maybe people were too disconnected. That's why there was low voter turnout, whatever. But now, everybody's aware of it. But there's just so much understanding and just judgment of other people just because they think a certain way. So so it's hard not to acknowledge that. Yeah, it feels like we're in a radically different time period. It feels like we're in another century versus say 5-10 years ago.
Well, of course, like I said, you know Alex from his Testament days. Wanted to pull out something from your past as far as the fact that you joined the band as a teenager, and we have photographic proof of that here with the first album, The Legacy, but the picture on the back. I know the last time you saw that. But
last time I saw it was when I signed one.
That looks right there.
Not that long ago.
But what I wanted to ask about it is your bandmate and guitar mate in Testament, Eric Peterson, his other passion is a death metal band called Dragonlord.
Black metal.
Yeah, which somewhat ironically released their new album 2 weeks after Conundrum came out for you. You went the complete opposite route with jazz. When...
I think he's done great with it too.
When did you first tell these guys about your jazz passion? Do you remember what year that was? What was their reaction when you told them, yeah, I'd like to do jazz separately?
I think it got a lot of puzzled looks.
What's jazz?
It was probably the early 90s. And I had just been listening to a lot more jazz. The jazz guitar just interested me more. I felt like, I'd absorbed so much of my favorite metal, heavy guys, like Randy Rhoads, Eddie, Uli, who we actually did some shows with. Uli's like our buddy.
Right.
But I felt like, okay, I don't need to learn more of these licks. It's not interesting. Like, what hits me hard the way when I first heard Eruption, and it's really guys like John Scofield and early work of George Benson, Westman, all the guys. That suddenly was hitting me really hard, and it was the early '90s, and I started taking lessons again. I thought, I'm touring, I don't need to take lessons. No, I need to take lessons. I need to keep learning, and I found out that some of my favorite artists. Like, never stopped taking lessons. Another favorite of mine is Mike Stern. And he was constantly studying to that day with his teacher, a guy named Charlie Benacos, that I ended up studying with as well. So I had this new passion for, I had a whole new side that I started developing in the early 90s. And then I started playing with great bass players. Actually, I recorded a track with Les Claypool from Primus. I recorded on Michael Manring's record. And then I did a tour with my buddy Stu Ham, I'm still playing with. And it was around that time that I thought, okay, I really, as great as this is, and that I'm able to step into instrumental music, I just feel like there's so much more that I could tap into. That I need to tap into, and that's what I told them. And it was weird because at that time, if you're in a band like that, it's like us against the world.
Like, did they not take you seriously at first when you?
They were just like very puzzled. Like, they don't know. They don't really. Which is fine.
Man, this guy's on drugs.
They don't really exist outside of that type of music.
Right.
So these names like or Herbie Hancock. Who's that? Actually, his name they probably knew because he's got some pop hits.
Right.
They thought it was just the idea of somebody leaving was shocking. But then I think Louis Clementi for different reasons ended up leaving like months later. And then suddenly there was this revolving door. There was always somebody leaving. And then pretty much every other band in that scene has had somebody leave. Pretty much every band I can think of, except for Rush.
Right.
Which is like the
Thrashers.
Well, you segued perfect because I was planning on asking you about Uli. The fact
interesting.
I was on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise with Testament last year, but also the first one in 2011, which in my opinion you still can't beat because it was so new to everyone. And one of my favorite parts from that cruise was I was on the top deck while Uli was playing during the day. The wind blowing, Gulf of Mexico, you're out in the middle of the ocean, you're watching a guitar god on stage from behind the stage, and I was taking photos of it, and I looked down below me, and there was you, by yourself, like leaning against amps on the side so nobody could bother you by just watching and taking it all in. And I was fascinated, thinking, here is a great guitar. I know you don't want to be called a guitar god, but you're an outstanding guitar player in the metal world, watching another guitar god. So in those moments, were you simply appreciating Uli's performance, or are you one of those that's always learning and trying to pick up what he was doing, or both?
Oh, it's both. Yeah, I go back as a fan, listening to him in my bedroom, and just sort of taking it all in.
Yeah.
And then years later, still watching, but also just having these more experienced ears, so I can really, once you have more experience, you're more tuned in to what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a different experience.
Right.
And it was also a lot of fun because, when we did that show, just a couple years before, there was this guitar festival in New Zealand, and we did it. And Uli was on it, Vernon Reed, and a few. And that was when I first met Uli. And I've since run into him at numerous festivals and events, and we're bros. I've sat in with him at one of his shows.
Right.
But that first time we met, I was like starstruck when we all met.
Yeah.
And I had a funny moment with him on the boat because when we were sound checking, I was getting tone, and I hear this voice from the distance. Yeah, Alex, you do not have enough mids. And suddenly, I wasn't starstruck anymore. Yeah, it was like my crazy German uncle. Uli, you're at the bar. You're behind the amp. You can't tell where.
Chill.
Oh yes, I can see the mids. I have a story. Once when he tells me the story about how great he is with the mids and his old sound person. He's such a character. Yeah.
Chill, bro.
Got his 28 fret guitar.
Yeah, he's got like 30 frets on it.
Yeah, he's just he's so, and he just still plays.
Yeah.
88 keys.
I thought that he was some sort of total freak at first because I didn't
Free
know
arms.
that he had extra frets.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was playing perfectly in tune, above the, somehow playing above where the frets
harmonics.
were.
Yeah,
It's like playing lines. But that was and then
he's
he told me
getting
that
these notes that
he told me he
can't
had
get
extra
on
frets. I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I was like, this guy's a freak, total maniac.
So Matt and Nate, for you, I was wondering, when Alex is off the road for Testament and he's in jazz mode, do you guys kind of do the opposite when you're going through your daily routine? You're not playing music for a month or two or whatever it may be.
Maybe when I'm metal mode. When I'm
Right,
We
right.
play a lot
No,
of
but then when you
bands.
play jazz, you're doing your jazz
play
thing.
full
When you
time.
guys are on your own,
Oh, I see.
in your daily routine at home or whatever, how much do you metal out? How much do you listen to metal, or is it pretty much the same style of music?
We
that
do
you
a lot
play?
of New York City gigs, I guess, which can be anything from backing up singer-songwriters, rock gigs, pop, weddings. We do a lot of different, stuff to stay busy. Matt and I both play in a New Orleans style band called Brother Josephus. I play with a crooner guy from LA. We just played in Morocco last week for the Grand Table du Monde, the top 100 chefs in the world. We both do a lot of other gigs.
Violinist,
Yeah, he plays with what's her name?
Daisy Joplin.
He goes to China
Yes.
with her. So
But as
Real
far as
tour with
working
other
musicians.
bands.
tons of stuff, but there, as far as listening stuff, yeah, I listen to metal a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
my friends' metal bands, I listen to everything you can think of, classical music or jazz
You
stuff.
still in
They've
Kill
come
You?
to the Testament shows.
Tell us about I Kill You.
Very nice.
I played
yeah,
in Chile
I
for
played
a while.
He was in a band called I Kill You.
Yeah, Jason
Leopard.
Leppard's band. It was a really good band. It was really hard for me. I didn't get the double kickback together.
Very good.
But yeah, you have to be pretty versatile if you need to make a living playing music, playing every style. I don't necessarily have a Testament where I go out for months at a time doing. So I have to play with a lot of different groups to fill my schedule, which is great.
Yeah.
It makes you a better musician to be able to do all those different things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why he went back to learn how to play different styles. It's just it's fun.
Yeah.
It's rewarding. You know.
Alex, a lot has been made that, of course, you studied under Joe Satriani. How much credit does he deserve for molding or shaping the guitarist you are today?
He definitely helped set the bar much higher. I realized what the bar is. It was before he was as well known, before everybody had Surfing with the Alien,
Right.
The other records. But yeah, I just I hadn't gotten into jazz yet, but just as far as my rock playing, he really just showed what the possibilities were, and how in depth you could go as far as learning music, and also being open-minded. I was still discovering music at that point. I think when I did have this bug for improvised music, I think he definitely deserves some credit for just the idea. Okay, if you feel inspired by something, go with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that what anybody else says. It doesn't matter what you're supposed to listen to. It doesn't matter what all the magazines say you should listen to. At that time, there was always one or two players that you'd see in all the magazines that you were kind of expected to listen to. Joe, he would even said, don't get caught up in the player of the moment, because everybody's listening. And then a little while later, he would be the player of the moment, which is pretty funny. Yeah, so I learned so much.
I have a testament question from one of my social media readers out there, David from Iowa, wanted me to ask you. He said that his personal favorite riff of yours is from Disciples of the Watch. And he was just wondering if that was something you had on the back burner for quite a while, or was it something that came to you in the heat of the moment? Do you remember anything about how that was developed?
I think it was just very random. Because it's just, if I remember right, I think I was playing to a metronome or something, because I know I had to be in time because of where the chords fall. Just playing around like, okay, I need to come up with something that's not just, that's so boring. So I started putting so repetitive. That's fucking boring. Okay, but what if I reverse the rhythm and put it on the...
Oh, I know that rhythm.
And then it's got to turn around, so... Yeah, that was...
Oh, that's one with the harmonic.
That's, no, you're thinking of electric.
Oh, I'm thinking of electric crown.
Earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just playing around with the upbeats and downbeats.
Very cool. Also wanted to bring up the fact that Metal Allegiance, you guys just released an album there.